Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be looking into the origins of one of the most popular images out on the internet. Now ladies and gentlemen, I started this channel off by covering creepypastas, and if I had to make a wager, one of my first 15 videos ever uploaded onto my channel in the terms of the Haunted Gaming franchise was Jeff the Killer. I remember way back reading this creepypasta and absolutely getting scared by it. Not scared by it, I thought it was great, okay, which I'm gladly going to take the L on. It was a cringy creepypasta back in the day, but hey, years ago we didn't have the standards we have today. So of course, Ted the Caver, while it's one of the oldest creepypastas, Jeff the Killer is one where I think the most important aspect of it is this image, this character. There's been several stories, short stories, video games, pieces of media built off of this that it's actually mind-blowing how relevant and popular it still is in that horror creepypasta community. But ladies and gentlemen, where did this image come from is the question I wanted to ask today. And it's a question that exists in the minds of a few internet researchers, lost media preservationists, entire Reddit communities that exist to finding out the origin of this one image. And while I'm going to start off by saying the answers lead us into so many different directions, with bounties everywhere and different chants to go down, let's start right from the beginning. To understand, the story itself is quite cringy, but I'll give you a quick summary. Basically, Jeff was a 13-year-old who moved to a new neighborhood. First day of school, he was bullied by 3 kids. Jeff beats them up brutally after being threatened, and while Jeff's brother at the time took the blame for beating these kids up, he was arrested, and then Jeff attends this party where the same bullies actually attended, coincidentally. In the process of killing one of these bullies, Jeff was coated in bleach, face specifically, and lit on fire. Of course, that's where he went snap mode, full snap.exe. Jeff wakes up in a hospital with bandages over his face, brother laying next to him as far as I've understood. Now, of course, when Jeff took off these bandages, he had a pure white ghostly face. Of course, that's where Jeff burns off his eyelids, carves a smile, and ultimately kills his brother while saying the words, "Go to sleep." Now, of course, this is a pretty cringy story, and if you're probably getting Joker vibes out of it, don't be super shocked. Now, at the time, again, I thought this was a banger, and I'll gladly take the L onto it. Now, of course, the most substantial thing about this creepypasta was not really the story, because the story was some standard crappy internet fare anyways. It was this image in particular. I remember the reason why I even looked into Jeff the Killer was I actually saw this image even before ever knowing what a creepypasta was, or even before I started my channel. This is actually used in so many screamer footages, so many like ghost footages that you could find on YouTube. Before I ever made my channel, before I ever really had a concrete, avenue of content to consume, the most that I ever looked onto YouTube was like ghost footage, real ghost footage. And I would always get screamers, especially some of them with this specific image. Now, of course, I found the entire, reality of it later on. I found out, oh, this is a Jeff the Killer thing. But back then, they used to blare this with screaming sound effects and absolutely wake me up out of any slumber that I was in. So, of course, ladies and gentlemen, the original image is one of the reasons that I think the story really took off. So, of course, cue 2020 to 2023, where a new community has spawned trying to locate the origins of the Jeff the Killer image. Now, of course, I want you to completely forget that the creepypasta existed because it's dog water. This has been a lost media project for, again, several years, with a very humble but incredibly dedicated community. And a lot of this video is actually compiled on the research of those individuals, their subreddit, and various threads going back decades to uncover the origins of Jeff the Killer, or at least the image. Now, what's believed is this image is a composite of an unidentified individual's face. Who is it? We actually don't really have any idea. There's actually been bounties placed, $200, $300. I'm prepared to put $1,000 down to find the actual true origin point of Jeff the Killer. But of course, we'll save that towards the end. The original Jeff the Killer creepypasta was actually posted all the way back in October of 2008 on YouTube by a user known as Cessior, who has since had his channel and video removed on the basis of copyright violations. There was an archive of the video that I saw, but it contained like actual copywritten music, so I believe the takedown made sense. Now, a lot of the researchers looked into Cessior and traced him to a Newgrounds user known by the alias of Killer Jeff, where he posted this image and claimed that it was him at the time. I figured we should open the notes and look at it together. So here's the actual page right here. Hi, I'm the guy who made Jeff the Killer. Send all hate mail to here. Don't actually send hate mail. I don't want to get I don't want to promote any of that nasty stuff. So of course here we've got joined on 6706, very old account. I am such a YouTube guidelines. After finding my picture on ED, I got very upset, ED being Encyclopedia Dramatica, but I deserved it for putting Dragon Grief's pictures there too, and making those horrible insults about them. So here he writes, the story of old Jeffy. He enjoys horror such as ghost stories or slasher films. Have you ever met him in person? This man is what others call bizarre. He's like a Bloody Mary game, except you must perform it in the closet, turn off the lights, and sit down cross-legged. Repeat the saying 3 times while turning your head back and forth. He's in here with me. After the saying, close your eyes and call out the name Jeff. He'll appear by putting this face right up to you. And if you don't end up having a heart attack, congratulations. So again, I didn't even know up until this point that Jeff the Killer's origins were in Newgrounds, where I guess a lot of internet degeneracy takes hold. God bless. But further digging into it showed 2 images in particular, one from the archive video that we saw and the original Jeff the Killer image floating around. So according to the research here, a lot of the people put this as JTK1, which is Jeff the Killer 1, and then the original traditional image is Jeff the Killer 2. Obviously, the key differences between the images are the eyes, the mouth is a little less Jokerish, like there's no comically enhanced smile, but other than that, these images are effectively the same. Of course, this one can be called Cute Jeff. I believe it's actually called Beauty Face or something like that, like the actual original JPEG. Or sorry, prettyface.jpg is the original name. So JTK1 is the one that we want to primarily put our focus into. But let's look further in. One of the earliest posts that this was actually spotted in was actually all the way back in 2005, November 16th, on the website pia.cc by user Omega Volt, who actually has still not been found. Apparently people have been trying to get in contact with this guy, but he is just as elusive as the origin point for this picture. A few days later, a page was created with another cute version, not this Jeff the Killer image, the cute one, JTK1, on xblog.jp. This one with less work around the eyes, obviously. And of course, it was weird that they posted this so close to each other, but then again, it wasn't that odd, because that same JTK1 image was again posted all the way back in August of the same year on pia.cc. Even going earlier than that, there was a website known as FileMan, which I guess where a lot of celebrity gossip tended to happen. And of course, they had one article with this specific photo. It was a gossip site, and it was actually titled, for this picture specifically, Fear of Summer Nights, describing a celebrity before plastic surgery. So of course, the image goes far beyond that original creepypasta, but again, there's no proper source to it. There's no unaltered image. So either somebody drew this entirely, which doesn't really seem to be the case because of the actual photograph, or sorry, the surrounding nature of it, the fact that this appears to be a selfie, where is the original composite? That's the question. At this point, 3 witnesses come into the entire play. 3 witnesses who are believed to actually have posted or seen the original posts of this Jeff the Killer image. One of them is actually known as Miyama, who all the way back in 2021 made a few posts detailing the origins of Jeff the Killer. It was 15 years ago. I don't remember it, but they were talking about where it was posted. So one of the websites was shitaraba.com or others. However, shitaraba.com is BBS. Only someone made it was posted. The BBS has since closed. Obviously, this one is a lie because I just opened up Shitaraba, and apparently it does appear to actually have its BBS services still open. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what BBS services are, congratulations, I am old. So according to the research over here, Miyama, or Mr. Mulholland, actually posted the JTK1, which is the prettyface.jpg, on the 10th of September 2005 on pia.cc under the name White Powder. And of course, the research team actually ended up trying to contact Miyama, and they told them that back in 2005, the cropped image of a video of a middle-aged Asian woman appeared in Japan. Her face was very white. The image was a Japanese meme being posted on various bulletin boards on shitaraba.com as a surprise image. So again, a little shock factor stuff going on. Miyama took JTK1, made minor edits, such as a brightness correction, and the modified version can be found on sarai.jp. So again, I'll open it up here to show you what the image looks like, and this is the one. So, of course, the eyes are different, the mouth is closed up a little bit, and other than that, that's just the same image. So, of course, Miyama did not have the original image, and he believes that the original video doesn't exist on the internet anymore. But he told us that he believed that the video was from a show named Honto ni Atta Noroi no Video. So, of course, this was actually an entire series that I ended up watching a good chunk of because of this investigation, and it exists. It's like some super old Japanese, like, found footage sort of deal going on. And, of course, it aired from 1999 to 2005. Now, the entire community that was researching it looked through, from what I believe, every single one of those episodes and could not find a frame of this original Jeff the Killer. So, of course, that's pretty much how it ended. Now, a lot of people who were looking into this claimed that it wasn't this show specifically, it was just from a variety show. What was that variety show? Who knows? There were a few comments made that talked about it, but again, nobody really gave any concrete answer as to what that show could have been. These were made in a comment section of a YouTube video that was posted 1 year ago that anybody could read from. Again, this is popular under the Japanese side of YouTube. But one of the comments specifically was, I think the original was a screen capture from a variety show around 2000. I think it was a close-up of the end of a comedy act, and then it was further processed. Again, no real concrete answers. Some people said that the original Jeff the Killer was processed because the background of Jeff the Killer resembles a photo taken in the dressing room of Tamao Nakamura when she was very young. So she is a very popular actress from Japan, and again, nobody can confirm this, okay? Nobody can find that composite image. So enter the second witness in the story, Mighty Omnivore. So one of the Discord investigators for this entire project looked around and found that the image link actually existed on a separate forum known as Speed Guide. How did they find this? Well, in order to find this, what they did was they looked for prettyface.jpg on the internet. And of course, the Google spiders, or search engine spiders, will typically look at all these files that are present all around the internet, and if they can query that one website contained a hosted version of prettyface.jpg, which the file name typically shouldn't change if people are downloading the memes and constantly uploading them. Most services nowadays may reprocess a photo, but generally back in the day, as long as you posted a JPEG or a PNG or whatever picture file or file in general to the internet, you could pull it without any processing happening. So of course, this was posted on this page right here, which has since been removed. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, this was found on speedguide.net. And ladies and gentlemen, this is all the way back again in 2005, towards the tail end. So here, out of all these 5 images, one of them could have been the JTK1, the cute Jeff image. The second girl looked hot. Oh my god, I hate you. Blah, very nasty. Ew, gross. Oh man, that's really twisted. Dude, I swear, old internet was so much more wholesome than the stuff we have nowadays. Jesus. This led to a Twitter conversation between the investigators and who is known as Mighty Omnivore. So of course, here they actually contacted the community member who made that post, and they asked, do you remember where you found it? Well, back then, we didn't call them memes yet. That word was floating around a lot, but we called them image viruses, a word coined by a European web artist. I used to share that image around on LiveJournal, which was my main social media in the late 90s and early 2000s. I deleted my account with them at some point, but yeah, I do remember that image. You're going to hate me, though, because I do remember how I found it, but it's going to be a dead end. That's fine. Any detail will help. I found it on Google image search while scrolling for anime images on google.jp, the Japanese domain. And when I reached the end of the search, all kinds of weird images popped up. From Japanese forum sites, most likely. There were a few different images, like of her, the lady in the figure. Do you know who it is? Not a clue. I suspect it was just some lady wearing an exfoliating face mask or something, and she just took some bad selfies with her camera. That's what I always figured it was. But it was on a bunch of weird images. When you say that, are you talking about the image I sent or a different one? Yeah. So of course, he went into it and they showed the image right here, this one that they were referring to. There was another image I used back then, but I don't know if they're related. Nope. So of course, this is not the image that they're talking about, not Jeff the Killer 2. So of course, he mentions an image too that was similar. This one is super modified. Let me see if I can find the different image. And of course, he mentions one image over here, which I swear I saw from the Roblox Gelachild video that I made. But yeah, alright, yeah, sure. I found them both around the same time, I think. That's a popular image dubbed Make Me Cute, which actually had its origins found. Oh, neat. So when you say a few different images of her, Were these images like edits of the original pretty face, or did they look like edits of an alternate version? So, of course, when the investigator posted the image of Pretty Face, he actually confirmed it to be Pretty Face. That's what she's called now. But yeah, there were 3 or 4 images over different angles, all with that terrible flash where you can't see her face too well. None of them modified like that other image you sent. Wow, that is huge information, which it is, because at this point we all thought it was one image. But if it's 3 to 4 different images from different angles, that leads credence into believing, yeah, that original is out there and somebody posted this to begin with. So they mentioned that some of the eyes in the cute Pretty Face version were eyes from Mr. Potato Head, which if you actually look carefully at the eyes, it really does match Potato Head. The Potato Head eyes from Toy Story. So they mentioned that over here. But they also confirmed that the mouth was that person, to be sure. The mouth was not edited in any of those images. You got to remember that altering an image in those times took a bit more skill, and the tools were hard to come by because they were expensive. I think Photoshop was like $900 then or so. Ridiculous. We had Napster, but I'm not too certain we could pirate any big programs like that on it. And again, even when I go back in time, I'm kind of debating this because even with Napster, LimeWire, Kazaa, a lot of the web domains that existed, back then downloading a 300-400 megabyte or a gigabyte program definitely took more time than the ability to download it now. There definitely wasn't a lot of file sharing services as there used to be, but this would make sense. Like, this would actually make sense at the time. And even then, maybe some people's computers couldn't even run Photoshop or a lot of these, applications very well. It seems like nothing was really dug up from that scenario. At this point, the community started looking into things like Weird Crap, which were other communities on LiveJournals, where they shared this image, and contacting the LiveJournal support. So for instance, they actually sent this message back. Hi there, thanks for reaching out. First to let you know the account with the username Mighty Omnivore is currently dormant. I checked our servers for the images prettyface.jpg, and it isn't on our servers. There are 800 plus images showing for the account, so it appears that one was removed. If it was removed individually by PhotoBucket, the only reason we would have done so is for violating our TOS. Otherwise, it may have previously been removed by the account owner. So of course, even when it came to the hard drive, Mighty Omnivore got the drive to work, and there were no leads because all it contained was old vacation photos and pictures of ex-girlfriends. So that became another dead lead. At this point, the final witness came in called Seaman. Now, a video posted by Goose Boost, Jeff the Killer's true identity, 2 years ago, the user Seaman ended up commenting on that video, where they actually said that the images went back to a website known as 2CH or Futaba, where the original image was of a larger Asian woman with long black oily and shiny hair, no makeup, terrible camera quality, and having a dirty room with visible hanged clothes. If you look closely at the Jeff the Killer image to the left of it, you can see that what appears to be clothing. So of course, this might be a bit more believable. Let's read the comments. As a guy who used to browse 2chan, I definitely know the original picture of JTK, and I can say that the girl in the picture is probably not this woman that people were looking for. I'm not going to mention names, especially if it's not confirmed, and I wouldn't even do it either because, again, I don't want anybody to have undue harassment or mentions for some internet meme. Even though she does look kind of similar, the original girl was clearly an Asian and most likely Japanese. I remember her not having any makeup, her hair being more oily and shiny with terrible camera qualities. The things behind Jeff the Killer is actually hanged laundries. There was a thread in 2chan, someone bringing image of her and started a Photoshop contest. She probably was some rando uploading her own face in 2chan for attention in some kind of face reveal thread, and OP probably saved the image because she's unattractive and wanted to ridicule her. This is very believable if you ever been on the chans, goddamn. Thread was nothing special. In fact, it was really boring and forgettable, and I doubt current 2chan or 5chan, name change due to legal issues, users even remember it. In the thread, I remember seeing the original image, few jokey photoshops, including the ones that tried to make her look scary, and one of them was the image that's currently known as the face of Jeff the Killer. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if this is true, that image composite should still exist of the original person before the edits are made. So he actually mentions here that all the face part of Jeff is an edit. It is a joke to make it look creepy. The smiling mouth isn't real, probably taken from another picture and stretched to make it appear big. Baggy eyes and white face is drawn with paint software. She wasn't smiling, it was a generic picture of a fat girl taking a selfie on her webcam. I know she looked obese because I saw the picture. As far as I know, there's only one picture. The girl probably took a picture of herself for an attention and threw that image on 2chan. Or took a picture of herself to use it for her own blog. So again, no crazy backstory. Some guy ended up making the image as a joke and it ended up looking really creepy. So this guy's basically dispelling the fact that there was some crazy image. While the composite still exists, the image was quite mundane and people just edited on the chance to make it look creepier because at the end they were just ridiculing this one girl, which again doesn't sound all that unbelievable at the end of the day. All the Chans have some of the most sick shit going on them all the time. And if you ever go onto the internet hate machine, you'll know that you will be hated on no matter what, no matter who you... Dude, you could look like Ryan Gosling and they would still call you ugly on the Chans. That's just what anonymity does. So with 3 of the witnesses giving entirely different answers and results, some similarities, really the witnesses all came down to just hearsay and nothing was really corroborated. Which at this point, all you could do was actually do image analysis. So according to the research, it was entirely known that this image was called prettyface.jpg, okay? It was pretty face, that was the name of the image, no matter what. Now, of course, the origin of Jeff the Killer, as according to this post, is definitely 2chan, right? That's where we know that it must have originated from. Or a website that uses a similar system to them. There are 2 types of image addresses for 2chan and Gazobox. Source or thumb source is the actual image and thumb, and the thumbnail would be the reduced thumbnail of the image. So you'd have the image and of course the reduced size of it, a more compressed version, just so people could see it in like, you know, just scrolling through the threads. They could click on the thumbnail and it would expand to a larger image. Kind of like what a standard Chan thread is like. Reduced images are of poorer quality and the width is usually scaled to 251. Gazobox's JTK image also had a width of 251, and has the same level of quality as the thumb image, but the image address in Gazo JTK uses source, not thumb. That means that a user of Gazobox bought a thumbnail of JTK that was posted somewhere, probably 2chan or Gazobox before the Gazo05 post. So obviously, looking at the pixel width, looking at the amount of pixels that was present in the Jeff the Killer image, they were able to figure out that it was processed on one of these Chan websites. And again, even on Reddit, this community, when researching the original JTK image community, got infiltrated by a few bad actors who wanted to claim that they ended up actually knowing the girl who got the photo taken. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, even the community laughed about it. This is completely unconvincing and frankly a waste of time. We have no reason to actually believe this is indeed the Jeff the Killer girl. You claim to have had a picture which conveniently you no longer have. Just because you webcam with someone who in your mind has a resemblance to the photo doesn't at all mean that's who truly she was. Human memory is extremely unreliable. Also, when they're talking about webcamming, they're talking about like actual cam websites, like sexual cam websites. Again, is the image actually provable from there? No. Everyone who gets interviewed never has the goddamn image at all. Now, image analysis shows that when we look at the JTK1 image, the eyes are Mr. Potato Head from Toy Story. But of course, one thing closer is when you look at JTK2, which is the one that we've traditionally seen in the creepypastas, the eyeballs appear to come from like these Futaba-chan meme websites. So this is like a Futaba meme with these eyes going around. You see how like weird they look? And then you look at the eyes in the Jeff the Killer meme and it actually like aligns. The mouth appears to not be edited. Like if you compare JTK 1 and 2, the mouth does not change. The only difference being that they got the Joker smile in the creepypasta version. But of course, the mouth appears to actually be part of the actual like picture that was taken. This section does not appear to actually be faked or edited like one of the witnesses had believed or claimed. So at this point, what happened was one of the researchers looked into the actual EXIF data, which is the metadata for this photo. If you don't know, a lot of photos contain metadata, which showcases, you know, when the image was first created, what device the image was created on, if there was any sort of extra data that was inserted into these projects, you would find it in the EXIF data. So even for instance, like photos that you take around with like location data enabled will usually have longitude and latitude present on them. So again, EXIF data can contain whatever the device wants to imprint onto them. So of course, when you see a commonality between EXIF data, it should typically align that the image came from the same source. If you download an image from 2 different websites that's unprocessed, but the EXIF data is the exact same, then it's probably believed that that image came from a different source, all right? Someplace else processed it And it was just shared between those two sites or those two locations. What they actually ended up looking at was the JPEG compression artifacts, which if you don't know, a JPEG compression artifacts are very important because they could pretty much tell you what has actually been done to a video. And a lot of people who are looking closely at them, because they're not really visible to the naked eye unless you're zooming 20 times into something, you can actually look at these to see if a photo has been doctored, how compressed it has been, and typically what kind of compression algorithm it's been tossed through. So the researcher looked at Prettyface's resolution and found that it was 640 by 548. Very low, very small. So of course they wanted to look at the original resolution because that couldn't have been it. We just downloaded it from the internet. So the process, according to this research, is simple. In JPEG encoding, a given image is divided into non-overlapping blocks of size 8 by 8 pixels. This is because the way JPEG compression works is what it uses a transformation technique called discrete cosine transform that compresses data in sets of discrete DCT blocks, usually 8 by 8, every time a compressed JPEG image is encoded. It will contain a DCT grid, even if on top of an already existing DCT grid, okay? Because these blocks are very hard to observe with the naked eye, we can do a principal component analysis of the image. So by looking around these pixels in the center of the face and using mathematics as they claim, they can find out that the original size was actually 244 by 209. So of course, ladies and gentlemen, it was resized 2.625 times its actual original source. And if you look closely, you can see those 8 by 8 grids, which can tell you that it was recompressed to a JPEG file. Why is this resolution so important? Because if you look at it, it actually fits closely, when you're rounding it very close, to the maximum horizontal length of a 4chan thumbnail, which is 250 pixels wide, right? How else could they have confirmed that the image was from 4chan? Maybe the thumbnail, maybe a 4chan thumbnail? They ended up looking at the metadata to see that it was made using JD-JPEG version 1.0. And that was actually used in the web for the PHP and 4chan's way of compressing those thumbnails automatically on their server side. And again, the way that they could verify this was to download any 4chan thumbnail and check for its specific metadata. So it proves that the earliest version of the image is actually not from Newgrounds, not from 2chan, it's directly from 4chan itself. Now, of course, the second variant, where you obviously have Jeff the Killer, JTK2 Creepypasta version, that's obviously different. Obviously, those modifications are a bit higher quality, and you can actually even see close enough where the edits were made. So you can see around here those liquify tools and whatnot were actually added on top of the source image, and quality-wise are obviously a bit different than the original processed image. Now, ultimately, this is where this investigation ends. It's put at a standstill. People are still trying to find the original source image to this day. One thing is confirmed after all of this is the image appears to be from like the year 2000, 2001 if anything, way back in the day. But obviously its origin source appears to be 4chan, maybe 2chan, but 2chan because of 4chan. It appears that it was originally on 4chan, and the general theory that I've been able to see is it's believed that effectively this was somebody who wasn't exactly entirely attractive. They grabbed a photo of them from a webcam website, and a lot of the Chan board started sharing it around, photoshopping it, and eventually the Jeff the Killer image was born from there. Now, again, to understand, this still would probably ask, you would have to ask questions. First off, if it was a Photoshop competition of making this person or harassing them, where are the other possible versions of the Jeff the Killer image, right? It kind of lines up with one of the witnesses who pretty much said that there were 3 to 4 different images out there, composites. But again, we would probably have dug up by now those other various images from that thread. But then again, the thread is so old that it's probably not even close to archived, and the people that are still remaining, they're actually getting way too old to be looking into this, and also their computers, which may have contained cached images, cached data, is all dying too anyways. So again, this is a piece of lost media that as the months flow by, as the years roll on, it is literally going to be lost to time, unless, of course, some of these old sites and old archives are ever dug up. Now, one thing to also wonder about the Jeff the Killer image, again, like I said here, there has to be a composite to this photo that's somewhere floating around. And for an image that's gained so much popularity in the creepypasta space, I firmly am putting $1,000 down, $1,000 down, maybe even more depending on how popular this whole thing gets, to find that original image. That bounty is absolutely valid and something that I want to definitely promote because I want to find the actual answer to it as well. A few days ago, a week ago almost, I started looking into the Jeff the Killer conspiracy and the origins of this one image. This image really means a lot to me because one of my first big videos on this channel, I still remember having my mind blown away when that video got 600,000 views. And I was like, wow, this is what crack must feel like. And ladies and gentlemen, to this day, I always, thought, it's probably some image somebody made up of some weird creepypasta character, and that's how it got popular. But now I want to find the origin point of this image. I feel like we've gotten so back far, 2001, 2000. In fact, we've looked at footage of TV shows from 1998 to look for this image. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not where the story ends, but rather where the story sparks, I hope. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the origins of Jeff the Killer, one of the weirdest lost media pieces to go find. This might be a blame it on Jorge thing. Hopefully he might find something more into it. I'm going to have to ask him about this stuff too. It's pretty shocking to read. But ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the longest running quests right now on the origins of one of the internet creepypasta horror world's most infamous images. Jeff the Killer. What is it? Hopefully we find out. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mutahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I am out.